Hello, everybody. Just checking the voice. Hope you can all hear me. It's still a few minutes until we really start with the webinar. Just wanted to make sure that everything is working. Couple of minutes ago, we realized that the chat doesn't automatically open for everyone. It's so if you want to chat with us, the chat is open, and Jonathan is there to talk to you, even while I talk about the Twitter hacks. Jonathan is trying to answer some questions when you type them into the chat box. You can open the chat on the left-hand side of your browser window. If you just click on chat there, then the chat is going to open on the right-hand side. Hope everything is working. We still have a minute, so you could do me a quick favor, if the chat is working, and type in where you're from, because we are always kind of, having a hard time to figure out what is the best time for setting up a webinar, because we know that our audience is worldwide, and that makes it hard to choose a time. So when we know where you're from, that makes it a lot easier. Thank you. Some of you may know that we are actually not in the US, we are in Germany. We are in the beautiful city of Berlin. Right. So we have some people from the US and someone from Belgium too. That's cool. Oh, and Scotland. So I'm going to give it another minute before we start. Sometimes, some people are a minute late, or sometimes the watch is going slow or something. Oh, Morocco, that's nice. Okay, I think we're ready to go. As said before, Jonathan is in the chat and will try to answer the first questions that come in while I'm talking about the Twitter hacks. But we will certainly have a question and answer session right after my little talk. So if you have more questions, or I should say a little more to it to answer it, then Jonathan can do in the chat. Then we will certainly are going to talk about it later in the question and answer session. So let's start right in. Today we are going to share 7 hacks that really help us ourselves turn our Twitter into a traffic generation and a sales channel. And who are we? Well, we are the social marketers, Jonathan and me, Susanna, and we are not married. We are brother and sister. We've been working together for a couple of years now. We first started a publishing platform, and for this publishing platform, we actually had to learn Twitter. Who am I? I'm your host for today. And the reason I put this in this slide deck actually is because I wanted to show you that my background is not at all marketing. I didn't learn marketing at university. I'm actually a mathematician. I worked a couple of years for university as a scientific researcher and started to work as a management consultant for a couple of years after that. And only when I became an entrepreneur, I really had to learn marketing. And I'm telling you that because I firmly believe that everybody can be a marketer. Everybody can be successful in social media marketing. You don't have to study marketing at university. You just have to be open-minded and willing to learn and work on it. So here's our story on Twitter. We registered on Twitter in 2010 when we started our publishing platform with 3 accounts. I actually, my account has this crazy name, Dreckbärfrau. And the reason is, it means something like the woman with the dirty beer. And I didn't think about the name for my personal account because the only reason I created that account was to give our company account a first follower. I never thought that my account was going to be the largest account we would be running. And it didn't look like that in the first 2 years when we were active on Twitter, because in 2012, our 3 accounts had between 80 and 400 followers. And the traffic to Explore B2B from Twitter was really not anything to talk about. So obviously we didn't get Twitter at that time. And we really had to learn how to do it right. And we did that. And another 2 years later, it really was the best source for traffic and signups and registered users for our publishing platform. Twitter was actually the key to our complete marketing success. Unfortunately, our publishing platform went down in the end of 2014. That was one reason why we started the Social Marketers, and today we are running over 26 or around 26 Twitter accounts. We have over 1 million followers, and still Twitter is our most important traffic source for the blog. So it doesn't have to be like 80 followers after 2 years. Once you figure it out, it can be a totally different story. And when we figured out that Twitter, in combination with a lot of content, can really give you growth, that's what happened to our publishing platform. We had 500K page views per month. We had over 80K registered users and over 50K published articles. And for a time, the platform was growing exponentially, mainly with Twitter. And that wasn't due to some special things of the publishing platform. When we started the Social M's and the new blog, which at that time really was new, our first article went live in September 2014. We had to start from scratch. And after 7 months, you can see how our traffic grew. And Twitter, again, was the most important traffic source. Almost 75% of our traffic came from Twitter. So what am I going to teach you today? I'm going to show you that tweeting is not enough on Twitter. We're going to show you how we grew on Twitter and how you can do it too. We are going to talk about how you grow your followers, how you get traffic from Twitter, and how you can get leads from Twitter. So I promised 7 hacks I'm going to show you, and these are the hacks. We're going to talk about content curation. We are going to talk about conversations. We are going to talk about your own content and why it's so important. We are going to see how Twitter can be turned into a traffic generation powerhouse. We are also going to tell you how you can engage with new followers and why that is so special. We are going to talk a little about monitoring, because monitoring is really key to success on Twitter. You really want to know what's going on. And finally, or last but not least, we're really talking about growing a Twitter account. There's a reason why we put that last. It's the most important hack of all, but you cannot do that successfully without the others. So let's start with content curation. Often when people start out on Twitter, the problem they have is they don't have so much own content, and so they don't really know what they should tweet. And the solution to that is all the great content from your niche, from your competitors, from influencers, from your field, all that is interesting to your target audience. It doesn't have to be your own content. You can share whatever you find interesting. You just have to do it right. I'm not talking about automatically retweeting certain Twitter accounts, because that's not going to work. People can see that. People will recognize automation at that point. And you run a huge risk of tweeting content that you wouldn't otherwise tweet, that you wouldn't share because you don't like it or you don't believe it's true. So you really have to make sure that you know what you're tweeting. Curating is a process of really deciding on what would be interesting to your audience. Only then can this really work. And you need that because Twitter really is a content monster. It's like the cookie monster, always asking for more content. And a Twitter account that doesn't tweet is invisible. And a Twitter account that doesn't really share valuable information is not really worth to be followed if it's not your friend and you're having a friendly conversation with them. So content curation can be a real time-consuming affair. I really know that. I'm building a new account for a totally new niche for a new blog we started a couple of weeks ago. And we are in the situation that we don't have so much own content on this really new blog. So we need more content. And I do exactly that. I curate content. My main way of curating right now is social media channels. I'm a fan of my most important content sources on Facebook, and so I see what they share, and a lot of great stuff to share on Twitter is coming in on my Facebook. Another thing I use is Feedly, where you can set up for different topics. You can put in all your most important blogs you like to read, and then you see every blog post that comes in and can decide what you want to share. Another way is to use Twitter lists. You can simply follow Twitter accounts from your niche and see what they tweet. But I'm not talking about retweeting everything that comes in on this Twitter list. You really should make original tweets. You can retweet sometimes, but it shouldn't be your own, the sole activity of your Twitter account to retweet things. But if you set up your curation feed like this, content curation can really be not so time-consuming as you may think. So how can you make your Twitter account grow? Now you share valuable content on your Twitter account, but you can use this shared content to make your account more visible. And the thing to do is to mention the source of the Twitter account or the author of a post you share in the tweet, because most people will then notice and some of them will retweet it. So if you share, for instance, a post from me, from our blog, the way to go for a curated tweet would be to take the title, the link, and then either mention me as an author, as by Dreckbärfrau, or to mention our blog as via the social amps. And since most people watch their notification tab on Twitter, people will notice what you're doing, and sometimes people will retweet and bring more attention to your account. And the second growth tip at this point is don't tweet only once a day. Don't send 20 tweets at 7 in the morning when you have half an hour of time. Use a tool to schedule your tweets throughout the day. It gives you much better results. And the tool I recommend at this point is Buffer. I still use Buffer for this. You can use the free version, which allows you to schedule 10 tweets per day. And you can select times per day when your audience is most likely to be online. Some tools can actually analyze your followers and give you the best times. But if your business is local, you probably know when the best times for you are. Is it business hours, or is it evening hours because you want to talk to people in their spare time? Just make sure that most of your important tweets go out at the best times when hopefully a lot of people from your audience are online. So the next thing you have to do with your Twitter account is talk to people. And I don't just mean to comment on shared content like great content or something like that. What you really want is a conversation. You want to talk to people. And even if tweets are really short, it's possible to talk to people on Twitter. And the reason for that is because people are going to remember you when they really talked to you, when they engaged with you. Even if you share great content on Twitter, a lot of people are just going to notice the content, but since there's so much great content coming in on Twitter, they will not really notice who shared it. But if you talk to them, if you really add some insights or have a conversation going on, people will notice and will remember you. The recommendation to do that is TweetDeck, which is a Twitter client. TweetDeck allows you to set up different feeds for different actions on Twitter. So you don't only see all the tweets from your followers in one feed. You can also set up feeds for the mentions or the direct messages you get, or you can conduct a search, a keyword or key phrase search, and set up a keyword feed. So every tweet with this keyword comes into that feed, and you can monitor that. You will probably have to play around a little with the keywords or key phrases until you really get tweets in the feed that are relevant to your niche. But once you have set up the right keyword or key phrase, you really can just monitor what's coming in and join the conversation or answer something, ask a question if something interesting comes in. It's really easy to monitor that in TweetDeck. Of course, there are other ways to find conversations. For instance, you can start them yourself. You can comment on a shared piece of content. As I said, it's not the best way to start a conversation with just mentioning that you like something. A conversation gets started if you add something or have a controversial point of view or ask an opinion on a special point in the content. You can also use Twitter polls, which are a special kind of tweet directly on Twitter, but they work best if you already have a fairly large audience, because if you only have 5 followers, no one is going to see this poll. Another thing are Twitter chats. They are usually work with simply a hashtag, a special hashtag, and most of the time, or often, they are set up by conferences or events. So you don't really have to go to the conference, but you can join the conference chat on Twitter with and watch what people are saying about the conference by simply following that hashtag, and you can often join very interesting conversations in Twitter chats. So now your Twitter account is really active, and you're talking to people, and you're sharing all that great content, but that's still not enough to get traffic from it, because if you only share other people's content, the traffic your Twitter account can produce is directed at other people's blogs where the content is. So you really need your own content to direct people from Twitter to your own website to generate traffic. And actually, curating content doesn't really make you an expert in anything. It makes you a content curator, a news source, but you really have to have your own voice to get to the big results. So you need your own content. The nice thing with Twitter is that Twitter loves almost every content format. You don't have to limit yourself to videos or limit yourself to images in a certain format. You can all share all of that on Twitter, and Twitter usually likes it. What you have to keep in mind is that if, for instance, you work with videos and you upload your videos on YouTube, don't share the YouTube link, because the YouTube link will only produce traffic for YouTube. You get views on your video, so that's a start. But if you embed your videos or slides on your own website, you can do so much more with that. So what can you do with your own content? How can you turn that into traffic? Of course, you tweet your content. That's the first step. But I've seen a lot of people tweeting their own content and probably not seeing the best results. For instance, a headline can make a huge difference. When we still had the publishing platform Explore B2B, I've seen a really interesting article about social media, but the headline was social media. So what do you think happens when you tweet something on Twitter with social media as a tweet text? Well, most likely no one is going to click on that, because that's just boring and not enough information to really make people click on that. So what you really have to work on is your headlines, because they make all the difference. There are some kind of headlines that almost always work well with Twitter. That's list posts, that's how-to posts, and it's worst ever advice. So by using these headlines, you will already probably see better results than by generic headlines, but still you can do even better. You can use power words. Power words are things like, if you go for a list, then the list of 7 Twitter tips is not really going to cut it, but the list of the ultimate 7 Twitter tips is probably going to work. So there are some power words who can make all the difference, and you need to know them and, yeah, really test your headlines. Now, when you already have quite a lot of own content, just keep in mind, content often doesn't grow old. And Twitter is one of the few social networks where you really are allowed to retweet, to repost the same stuff you already tweeted a few days ago. Because most of the time, it's not the same people who are going to see the second or third tweet than saw the first. So you can really reuse older content as long as it's still relevant. And you can do that and actually make your Twitter account kind of run on automation by recurring cues. And there are only very few tools who can do that. One of them is Social Oomph, which has a horrible user interface, but works wonders with recurring queues. And actually, a blog that uses recurring queues you may have heard of is Jeff Buller's. There's another thing. You have to make sure to get it right on your own website. As I told you before, I'm right now working in a niche which is not marketing, and growing a blog and a Twitter account in a niche which is not marketing. And because I'm curating content, I see a lot of blogs there, and they have such great content on there, but I'm sure they're not getting all the traffic from Twitter they could get, because they get it wrong. They yeah, if they want me to follow their Twitter account, first of all, I land on their webpage. So I don't want to go to Twitter and search for their Twitter account. If you want people to follow you on Twitter, make sure they can find your Twitter account on your website. Or for instance, when you're going for guest posting, mention your Twitter handle in your guest author bio. People will follow you. And the next thing that I see that people are not really getting right is share buttons on your website or blog. Some people don't even have share buttons. And if they have share buttons and I click on the Twitter share button, I get an empty form, which isn't going to work. You have to make sure that there is a predefined tweet with a perfect headline for Twitter, the right link, and even better if you also mention your Twitter handle, because that can really push your Twitter growth. But other people are going to tweet your content, mentioning your Twitter account. That's perfect. But there's even more you can do. What you really want is that other people have some kind of incentive to tweet your content. And you can make sure that they have an incentive to tweet your content by what kind of content you create, and let them know that you have this content. Examples for that are tool reviews, service reviews, or you can interview influencers or even your competitors. If they have Twitter accounts, you can make a list of expert quotes on your blog and let the people you mention in your post know that you have this post, and most of them will actually tweet your post. I noted down an example here for the marketing sphere. Jeff Bullers and Marie Smith, there's an I missing in there, have really large Twitter accounts, and getting them to retweet or tweet content I've created usually has a huge impact. So now we're going to talk about something that a lot of people kind of dislike. We're going to use automation to engage with new followers. And what I'm talking about is automated direct messages. A lot of people regard them as a black sheep of Twitter marketing. When we started with marketing our publishing platform, a lot of people told us we shouldn't send direct messages because people wouldn't be following us, which isn't true. They followed us. They also told us direct messages are always spam. yes, I get a lot of direct messages that ask them, but that doesn't mean that they are always bad, and it doesn't mean that they couldn't work for you. So what we are telling you here is, don't just put direct messages, automated direct messages, into the spam folder and never think about them again. But keep in mind that they really can work as a sales and lead generation channel. You just have to find the right way to do that. And for instance, when we had the publishing platform Explore B2B, what really got us leads and signups was the example I wrote down here. We invite you to publish on Explore B2B. We got an insane conversion rate of about 30%, which is really, really a lot coming from social media. Conversion rates on social media are usually not that high. But we found a message that really spoke to the people. Obviously, a lot of people at that time were looking for a place to publish content. And this wasn't the first version of message we used. So the thing about that is you really have to test your messages, because sometimes it's one word, and when you change that, it's either going to be a total failure or it can be a total success. One message may well be the solution to everything. And you have to look at your own direct messages, at what you get on Twitter, and see what you like yourself, and decide what you don't like at all. So go for it. You just have to try it out. Some things just work and some won't. But it's not true that trying it out will hurt you so bad on Twitter that you shouldn't. Here on this slide, there's actually another examples how we used the direct messages when we created the new Facebook page for the Social M's, which was at that time really new, and we didn't have any any fans, and we didn't spend any kind of money on Facebook advertising, which makes it really hard to grow a Facebook page today. And we actually got the first fans from Twitter, but we didn't use Like Us on Facebook, which is really boring. I get that a lot of times. But Jonathan came up with this slightly funny message, and obviously a lot of people had to smile when they read it, and a lot of people liked our Facebook page. So be creative. Another tool recommendation for that, because I was talking about automated direct messages. I mean, in the beginning, when you only get 1 or 2 new followers, you can send personal, handcrafted direct messages. But once your account really grows, you cannot do that. And Status Brew is one of the tools that can send automated direct messages, or something quite similar, welcome tweets to new followers. These welcome tweets show up directly on Twitter, not to everyone, but only to the people mentioned in the tweets. So I've mentioned testing of headlines, testing of direct messages, testing of a lot of things on Twitter. So it's obvious that you have to do some monitoring, and you have to watch analytics and some numbers. And I'm going to show you how to do that, or what you can use to do that. Mainly, there are 3 places you should look for answers. There's one thing that's Twitter Analytics, and that's actually great that you can use them today. When we started out, they're brand new, Twitter Analytics, and sometime later, Twitter Analytics were only available to people who were using or registered for Twitter advertising. But today, everybody can look at Twitter Analytics, and you should actually do that. What can Twitter Analytics tell you? They can tell you how your account is growing, how many followers you generated, how many people responded to your tweets, a lot of things like that. But they can do more. They can actually analyze your followers, and that's really important because you want to make sure that the followers you have are really interested in you and really belong to your target group. If you're collecting followers on Twitter who have nothing to do with your target group, it will be really hard to sell to them. So you can use Twitter Analytics, and Twitter Analytics can tell you what your followers are interested in. And you should go there every once in a while and see if the interests of your followers really match what you are looking for in your followers. The second, Google Analytics, is probably the one thing most of you already watch. It doesn't have to be Google Analytics. Any kind of website analytics tool will do. And for instance, Kissmetrics is another one. They can show you how much traffic you get from Twitter. I will circle back to Google Analytics because they can actually, in combination with something else, they can do a little more. But you can see in Google Analytics how much traffic you get from Twitter and which of your website pages actually get the traffic. So if you have a blog, for instance, you can actually see which of your blog posts run best on Twitter. The reason I'm mentioning the scheduling tools here is because I told you to test different headlines, tweet texts. And the easiest way to quickly test different tweet texts for the same link you share is scheduling tools and their analytics, for instance, Buffer. Because they can actually tell you how many people clicked on the link in one tweet. And you will see, you can try that. You can tweet the same link with 2 different tweet texts, and often the difference will be really large. One tweet probably will get a lot more clicks than the other. It's really, really useful to learn what kind of headlines work on Twitter and which ones don't. But you still need more to really analyze your Twitter. For instance, with these tools, you cannot really analyze which of your direct messages work better, or which tweet texts get the most clicks over time. So I will show you in a second how to do that. But you really need to answer some questions. And the basic ones are, is my account growing? Do I get more followers? As I said, you should watch your Twitter analytics to see if your followers are from your target audience. And another sign that your followers are not from your target audience is when they don't really engage with your shared content. If people don't talk to you about the topics that you should think your audience should be interested in, then that's a sign that they're not really from your target audience, and you should rethink your targeting. And in the end, what counts is, do I get traffic? Or even one step on, do I get leads? Can I convert them? So we really have to monitor what's going on. So here's the extra monitoring tip for you. What I'm talking about is campaign links. They are links that not only include the website you're linking to, but some additional information. For instance, the source At the bottom of the slide, I added an example. So you can add a source. In this case, since we are talking about Twitter, the source would be Twitter. And you can add some additional information into that. And there's a Google tool for, or URL builder, which can really help you to set up these links, because I can't remember how they really have to look. And once you've set up these links, you can, for instance, use, well, you can shorten them with a link shortener. And then you can use these links in your direct messages and watch Google Analytics in campaigns and see which of your direct messages give you better results. Now, these UTM campaign links are really, really valuable. So we are getting to the last and I think most valuable of the hacks. Again, some people keep telling people that this is kind of shady, which is not true. And I will prove that to you. So we are going to grow followers. But the reason we put this one last is you have to do everything we talked about before you start really forcing growth on your Twitter account. You have to make your account valuable and make your account worth to be followed. So what I'm talking about here is the follow-unfollow routine, which is really, really simple. It's you follow a few accounts from your target audience. That's important. People you would like to follow you. Then you wait a couple of days. In these couple of days, a certain amount of these Twitter accounts will follow you back. And after a couple of days, you unfollow the accounts that did not follow you back, because they're not going to, after a week or so, they're probably not going to react on your follows. And even though some people claim that this follow-unfollow routine is against Twitter's terms of service, it's not. What is against Twitter's terms of service is aggressive following, but actually aggressive retweeting and aggressive liking of tweets is also against Twitter's rules. And you have to be really careful not to step on Twitter's toes here. Because if you do anything aggressive for obvious growth reasons on Twitter, Twitter will simply ban your account. The first time Twitter bans an account, you can usually talk to them and get your account back, but it's still not nice. So be careful. Don't get over enthusiastic and follow too many people. The key to success for the follow-unfollow routine is a little more complicated. You really, really have to make sure that the people you follow are from your target group, because the more people react to your follow, the more people retweet something from you, the more people like what you do, and the more people who follow you back, the more people you can follow without Twitter getting pissed. It's simple. If you do something on Twitter that people don't like, Twitter will usually notice and give you a warning shot. So as long as you do something on Twitter that people like, share valuable content, follow people from your niche, communicate with people in a friendly and nice way, nothing is wrong with that. So who should you follow? That's really a difficult question. You want it to be people from your target group, but often the solution is not the search for keywords in their bio. For instance, we are marketers. We are looking for people who are interested in marketing, but most people we are talking to don't have the keyword marketing in their bio. They do something totally different, only they're interested in marketing. So the solution to that is to look for followers of more influential accounts on Twitter, or for instance your competitors, because if these people follow your competitor, they're highly likely to be interested in what you're doing on Twitter too. And as always for Twitter, there's a tool for that. There are actually quite a lot of tools for that. The one we really recommend is Manage Flitter. They help you to really select accounts from your target group. They also help you that you don't follow the same accounts over and over again, because that's bad. So it's a really comfortable tool to use. There are other tools like Crowdfire and even the tool I mentioned before, Status Brew, which I mentioned for the direct messages. They have a follow feature too, but I didn't find it as convenient as Manage Flitter. Yeah, I already told you that, but I think it's really worth to say again. Every retweet and like and follow back that you can get counts. If people like what you're doing, if people show that they like what you're doing by responding to it, Twitter will like what you're doing too. That's just that simple. So the first step to go is make your account valuable, share great content, take part in conversations, make sure it's visible that your account is not spam. And to prove to you that this is not a really shady tactic or something, who does it, or at least did it until their accounts were so huge, or they themselves were so famous that they got so many followers anyway. A lot of Forbes social media influencers did it, or some still do. Jeff Bullas wrote an article about it, how he discovered this method and what he gained with it. Aaron Lee wrote an article about it and how, told how great that worked. And if you take a look at the Forbes social media influencers, you may wonder why almost all of them follow an insane amount of Twitter accounts, sometimes several 100K people. Well, I think it's obvious. But not all of these influencers talk about that. But why shouldn't you do something that most of the influencers do? As Guy Kawasaki put it, if you're using social media right, you will eventually piss some people off. And that's actually some really great advice. For your social media, you have to figure out what works best for you. You shouldn't stop doing something or not try to do something just because someone tells you not to, if it's not, well, obvious spam or shady. If it could work, why not try it? The best strategies in social media are usually some strategies that others didn't dare do or didn't do for whatever reason. So I saw that there was a lot of chatting going on. I couldn't follow the chat. I concentrated on what I was talking about. So I'm fairly sure that there are still some questions left for now. Me and Jonathan are going to try to answer all of them in a second. Yeah, put your questions in the chat box. We will keep track of that and answer all of them. But I want to talk for a second about something else, because it's obvious that in this 1-hour webinar on Twitter hacks, I can't tell you everything that we learned in a couple of years. And so this can only be a small glimpse at what you can do and what we can do with Twitter and social media. And that's why we created the Social Media Traffic Generation Masterclass, where we put in a lot of the strategies and hacks that we used and that we are still using to grow our traffic, to grow our new blog, to grow clients' traffic and blogs. And here's what people say about it. Because, thank you, David, just in case you're listening in for this statement, because statements like this really help us to stay motivated and keep going. Yeah. And he said he completely underestimated Twitter and how powerful it was. And he was running his, I had to shorten that quote. He was running his website for about 3 years and didn't have much followers because he didn't get it right. So obviously we could help him. Thank you, David. So who's the masterclass for? Let me first say, it's not for you if you expect one less. If you're looking to get rich quick and if you're expecting results without effort, that's not for you. Social media is hard work. It's learning, it's testing, it's staying with it, trying again, and learning. So the masterclass is for you if you own or want to start a business, and if you want to do marketing without spending a ton on advertising, because we are not so much into advertising. Advertising is always a great tool to scale, to get more out of your efforts. But at first you have to learn how it really works and what works best. And you don't need money for that. So if you want to learn social media and traffic and lead generation, the masterclass is for you. What does it include? Currently, it's 6 courses at its core. They start with social media growth basics, and we have a monitoring course in there. We have a targeting course. Each course includes learning units, tests, and separate action plans where we really explain step by step how you can really achieve your goals. The masterclass also includes future updates we make and additional courses we add to our portfolio. So here's some more what's inside. It's social media growth basics. It's a content marketing course. It's tips for generating traffic from individual networks. It's about targeting. It's about monitoring, guest blogging, some email marketing basics, and much, much more. And includes step-by-step action plans, which I really think are great because you can simply follow them. And the original price, or the price we are usually selling it for, is $445. And the special offers for participants of this webinar is $189, which I think that the usual price is really a great offer, but I think the special offer is even better. You get 6 courses for the price of 1, actually. So what do you have to do? I hope you can see that now. You have to click on the Go to Masterclass button on the right, which should directly get you to the website where you can register. Just complete the checkout process and you can start learning. In case you don't want to or can't or whatever, click on the button. You can also use the link showing on the slide. That's courses.thesocalamps.com/masterclass189/. So it's really easy. If you sign up for the masterclass now or within the next couple of days, for as long as this special offer is relevant, we will also give you our ebook, the Social Media Traffic Code, which is fairly new. and which we usually sell for $14.99, which includes a repeatable step-by-step process to generating valuable traffic, and a bonus chapter on email marketing and sales funnels, which is really great for generating leads with the traffic you get from Twitter and turn them into email subscribers and set up sales funnels. We will just email all of you who sign up for the masterclass today. We will just email this. Yeah, and just a small reminder, this offer, of course, will only be open for a couple of days. And one thing I have to say, and I can't say it often enough, we don't want your money if we cannot help you. So you get a 30-day money-back guarantee, no questions asked. So if you sign up now and realize that this course is, or this masterclass is not for you, simply write an email and we will refund you fully. And the second guarantee is if you're putting in hard work and you're not seeing results after 6 months, we will refund you in total, because then obviously we couldn't help you either. So just small recap, the Social Media Traffic Generation Masterclass includes 6 courses. Starting with Social Media Growth Basics, we tell you about targeting, content marketing, monitoring, and a lot more. Some additional material, future updates, and today you can get it for $189 instead of $445. And you get 2 guarantees. One is our 30-day money-back guarantee, and the other is a 6-month results guarantee. So if you put in the effort, work hard, and don't see any results, we will refund you. So yeah, let's get to the questions you still have. So I couldn't watch the chat, so I'm not so sure if there are any questions open that we should talk about. I have to see. I just see that Jonathan was talking about Tweepy. That's a tool for follow, unfollow. And just before Christmas, they had some serious trouble with Twitter, actually. And for some smaller Twitter accounts I was running at the time, I was using Tweepy. And the second I did one action with Tweepy on one account, the account got locked. So today I really cannot recommend Tweepy as a tool for the follow-unfollow. If you want to look into other tools, there are more tools like Zocedo or Crowdfire. That's actually the main 2 I know for the follow-unfollow routine that I think are worth looking into. Zocedo works in a slightly different way than Managed Flitter. They are not just following people, they are actually liking their last tweet, which makes the whole lead generation process with the follow-unfollow routine slightly different, but it works. Any more questions, or did Jonathan just answer all of them? Someone said, what is the future of Twitter? I actually think that Twitter will stay. While they haven't changed so much in the past, they're really working hard to make things more friendly to the masses and make people, get people to easier understand how Twitter really works, because today they really have a communication problem. But I really think Twitter is one of the few social networks which is really going to stay, at least for a while, because it's really actually so easy to use and can be so so I just see that someone couldn't hear the seventh act. Yes, we will really have a replay. We will send it to you in the next days. And of course, there will be some things about the seventh act, because that's really sad that you didn't get that. So I think if you have more questions, you actually have to type them in again, because I can scroll back in the chat, but I'm not sure if I'm seeing all that hasn't been answered. Thanks for saying that you like our format with the two presenters, one in the chat and one talking. I really feel a little weird, because I don't really know what has been going on in the chat, so I feel a bit left out. I have to reread everything that was said in the chat later on. I'm not so sure if I get the question right. The time frame for the masterclass. First of all, if you sign up for the masterclass, you have lifetime access. So that's one interpretation of the question. The other question is, well, actually, we haven't really decided when we are going to take down the special offer, but it's really only going to be a couple of days. Right now I see that you want the slides. Well, I have to warn you a little, because we always try to keep the slides without too many words, kind of. So the masterclass is not an ebook. The ebook is an additional gift we are giving you if you sign into the masterclass. The masterclass is actually an online course, which you can simply sign in online via your browser, and it then is separated in different courses and different units. The courses always remember which of the units you already did learn, and saves where you stopped learning, and you can simply continue learning whenever you have more time. But no, the masterclass is not an ebook. The ebook is an add-on. Here's another question on Twitter. Yes, images and tweets are really, really important. When we started out, there were no images and tweets. Today, you really have to have an image in a tweet, and because otherwise your tweet will get far less attention than if you tweet with an image. And you can actually, images with tweets are a little like the headlines. You have to test them. But in the end, it's really the most important thing is that you have an image with your tweets. I'm not such a huge fan of GIFs, but that's just my personal opinion. For me, images on Twitter are just eye catchers to really draw me in and get my attention. But you should actually try that. They might work. It really depends on your target group. In the master, you read for yourself The masterclass is written material because we really believe in letting you learn at your own speed. We are thinking about doing some recordings of the lessons. We might do that in the future, but right now it's written. Thanks, Gil, for the comment. No, the masterclass is not mainly Twitter. The masterclass really covers a lot of things. The masterclass covers, there's actually one course on content marketing in there. We use Twitter as a starting point, but Twitter is not the only social network for traffic generation. So no, we definitely talk about Pinterest, which is a huge source of traffic for a lot of bloggers. SlideShare, which is really important for as a totally different kind of channel for traffic generation and getting attention to your information. Of course, we are talking about Facebook. Yeah, so the masterclass is really focusing on social media as traffic and lead generation. The question right now is if Twitter is, in our opinion, the best social media for traffic generation. In terms of the most traffic, that probably depends, but Twitter is one of the really honest social media networks. They don't have an algorithm deciding what they show and what they don't show, and that makes it a great entry point for everyone starting out. Because in every other network, you really have to figure out how the algorithm works before you can really get traffic from that. It's really hard nowadays to get fans to a Facebook page just by activity on Facebook. You either get famous somewhere else and get a lot of fans there, or you pay for ads. And Pinterest is a little different, but Pinterest still has an algorithm in place, and you have to figure out how the algorithm works. So Twitter is a great place to start because you can really learn step by step how it works, and you can have people explain it, and it's easy to follow. Another comment here that most courses seem to focus on paid tactics. Yes, we and we don't focus on paid. We don't focus at all on paid. We don't talk about advertising because that's what we firmly believe in, that you should really learn your social media before you invest too much money in ads, because ads are great to scale, but social media is not about paying for ads. You can pay for ads everywhere. Yeah, Facebook ads are quite cheap, so go for it. But yes, we want to grow kind of organically. We want to show you that you can have traffic from social media without paying for it, just by figuring out how it works and putting in some work. So no advertising in the masterclass. The masterclass does include Pinterest, yes, of course. Yes, the masterclass also includes LinkedIn. Yeah, that's true. Paying for followers is not really worth it. But when we started out, Twitter didn't have advertising on Twitter itself. You could buy followers, which is stupid. But today you can really help your Twitter growth with advertising. But I actually think that the hacks we showed you today and some other hacks, if you take them into consideration, work actually better on Twitter than Twitter advertising. I think that's one of the problems Twitter really has with monetizing, because if you really understand Twitter, I think you can make it work much better without paying for it than paying for it. Thank you for joining us today. I'm sure we are going to do some webinars in the future. I'm really sure we can come up with some great topics for more webinars. Hope to talk to you again, and nice having you today. Thank you. This is an interesting question. I would actually start with one account for the blog and one account for you personally. I think that's more than enough for the start. The reason we are running so many Twitter accounts is actually because we started a lot of topic-oriented accounts for different topics when we still had the publishing platform. And the Twitter accounts are actually what was left for us, so we are using them. But it's better to have one or two accounts which you really can handle personally and put in some personal conversations than running 50 accounts and yeah, you have to have too much automation, especially in the beginning. So I would start with one or two Twitter accounts. The one hint, a personal account usually is easier to grow because people rather like to connect to people on Twitter than to companies. So growing a personal account will probably see better results in the beginning. You're welcome. Yeah, I think so too.